You are welcome to LAUTECH Open and Distant Learning. I will be taking you through SS8 Petroleum Accounting. We are looking at study section 8, that is the regulatory framework for extractive industries. The International Accounting Standard Board, which we refer to as IASB, developed an objective in developing the International Financial Reporting Standard 6. And this standard is looking at the exploration and evaluation of expenditure. And it depends on the entities existing of accounting procedures, but it must be in accordance, specifying that the entity needs to assess assets for their impairment in accordance with the International Accounting Standard 36, which purposely or specifically been established for the treatment of financial reporting in oil and gas. But in this study section, you will be introduced to International Financial Reporting Standard 6, reason for issuing, main feature, what are the objective and scope of the International Financial Reporting Standard 6, and we are looking at the International Accounting Standard and its development. Learning outcome for study section 8. On completion of this study section, you should be able to explain what is International Financial Reporting Standard 6, and you should be able to highlight and explain the objective scope of that standard, which we refer to as IFRS 6, and of course explain the Petroleum Industrial Bills 2011. International Financial Reporting Standard 6. These standards are designed as a common global language for business affairs so that company accounts are understandable and comparable across international boundaries. The International Financial Reporting Standard 6, explaining on the exploration for and evaluation of mineral resources, has the effect of allowing entities adopting the standard for the first time to use accounting policies for exploration and evaluation assets that were applied before adopting international financial reporting standards. Objective and scope of IFRS 6. The scope of IFRS 6 on the oil and gas is specifically limited to accounting for the E&E expenditures, and it does not address other aspects of accounting by entities engaged in the exploration for and evaluation of mineral resources. The same standard requires that upon initial recognition, exploration and evaluation assets should be measured at cost. That is, it is the requirement of the standard that entity can use neither cost model or evaluation model for its accounting policy for the measurement and the basic requirement for E&E assets after initial recognition of that asset. Now, accounting for borrowing costs in International Financial Reporting Standard 6. The International Accounting Standard 23 permits capitalization of borrowing costs as part of the cost of the asset only when it is probable that they will result in future economic benefit to the entity and to the cost can be measured reliably. Now, borrowing costs are interest and other costs incurred by an enterprise in connection with the borrowing of funds. So, a qualifying asset is an asset that necessarily takes a substantial period of time to get ready for its intended use or sales. Unlike IAS 23, IFRS 6 permits capitalization of E&E assets even when it is not probable that they will result in future economic benefits. Presentation and classification of E&E assets. E&E assets should be classified consistently as neither tangible or intangible assets in accordance with the nature of the asset required, which we have made a lot of examples on E&E assets. Petroleum Industrial Bills 2011. These bills attempt to bring under one law the various legislative, regulatory, and fiscal policies, instruments, and institutions that govern the Nigerian petroleum industry. The bill is expected to establish and clarify the rules, procedures, and institutions that would entrench good governance, transparency, and accountability in the oil and gas sector. The component of PIB. The PIB draft was designed to act as and all-encompassing pieces of legislation, that is combining rule, regulation and legislative policies all together, then giving us the result. Then we have about 15 pieces of existing legislative will be revoked upon ratification. Now, this commission will act as the independent regulatory bodies and licensing agency for the upstream sector. So on the operational side, NNPC will be replaced by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, which will refer them to as NOC. So the vision is to turn NNPC to Integrated Oil and Gas NOC, that is National Petroleum Company Limited, as a limited company. We have come to the end of this story section. Thank you for listening. See you in the next class.